So talking about tripling down on the Nemesis system and everything, I even think in an interview, in the Comic-Con video you just posted, you're like, oh yeah, we just went insane with this one.
Yeah.
What's the right level of complexity to present to players? How do you know when to cut that off and when it's going to be a turn off versus a turn on for different audiences?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, and it's really important to prioritize. And so the definition for us is that the number one goal is to create emotion, like to create these strong stories where you absolutely love to hate these enemies and you're just driven to either want to get them working for you because he's so amazing, or kill him in revenge for this, horrible betrayal he's done against you. So it's always through the lens of is it emotional and is it a human story? And the thing we're always very wary of is slipping into, oh, it's a strategy game or it's a meta game. We'd never do, oh, I can see his morale bar shifting up and down and he's got like +3 to his chance to betray because I did this. Like, we never want people kind of min-maxing it as a kind of spreadsheet of managing these guys. It's always got to be about stories and emotion. And then in that way we put as much of the complexity as we can under the hood. So there might be very complex calculations going on, determining what they're going to do, but we're really strict on not actually exposing those to the player.
Do you think part of your audience wants that spreadsheet aspect? They want the min-maxing thing? So what's wrong with it in your eyes?
I think it is just having that dedicated to the fact that it's a story-generating machine, and we want these guys to be as relatable, and in a way it's the wrong word, but we want them to be as human as possible and to really be like characters and stories.
Do you feel like with Shadow of War you're pulling more on your RTS development history than with Shadow of Mordor? Have you noticed it coming up just in your own reflections and thoughts, making different decisions?
Not necessarily consciously. I think probably the biggest thing that comes up is something that was specific to Total War was we wanted scale. We wanted epic scale, like Rome Total War. We're like, okay, let's do Gladiator, and even the decision to have the 3D camera and the big forts and so on. So I think that desire to have epic cinematic scale, that's in some ways coming from the same place. But other than that, design-wise, they're obviously totally different. But yeah, cinematic epic battles are definitely an inspiration in some ways that are there in both.
It was interesting yesterday when you mentioned just how popular the game was in Europe and how they might be more interested in the strategy elements. Is that just a big confidence boost that we can probably push a little more in that strategic direction and the audience would be okay with it?
Yeah, it's interesting. There is always a balance. As I say, we're always trying to prioritize towards what makes the best story, but then like even if we consciously try and stay as far as we can to that side of the line, as you introduce more choice and more depth of upgrading your fortress or upgrading your army or having particular traits, there's just going to be a certain amount of strategic depth that's going to go into it anyway. I think that one of the things we offset against that is also adding difficulty levels. So by definition, if you're going to play on easy and normal, part of that is, okay, all of this stuff's going to exist and it's going to make the battles bigger and epic and crazier and more varied, but you don't necessarily have to direct your attention towards strategizing about that. But as you go higher up to higher difficulty or later in the game or the Elder game, or if you're playing the online modes, then at that point, actually min-maxing and actually thinking about optimizing some of those elements and who your team is and what traits they have, and have you gathered the intel to learn the traits of your enemy, and have you fully upgraded your fortress, and what defense do you pick to activate because of who the attacking army is, then that depth can come in. But that's generally, I think, going to be, dozens or hundreds of hours in. I
mean, just knowing that that depth is in the package, even if it's not until you go for the harder difficulties. Do you have a lot of pride in creating one of the most hardcore AAA games on the market out there, just because knowing that that is technically in there?
Yeah, I think we're really cautious of that. Like, we don't want it to be hardcore, but as you say, we want that to be there for the people that want it. So it's not making it inaccessible up front, but then giving it that depth. If all you want to worry about is just pick up and play and just hack and slash your way through hordes of orcs, this will be amazing.